some of how you foster these relationships is indirect, right? So me fostering a relationship with you is not just, oh, let's sit down and have a discussion about our future. Let's have a discussion about and get aligned on finances or goals for this year, right? It can't always be that. There also has to be some fun to it. We have to go out and we have to go to a concert together. We have to go out and just sit down and have dinner. We have to go out and, just go grocery shopping together. Just even
So
working
fun.
on, yeah, but even
Grocery
working,
shopping.
I'm not saying it's crazy fun, but when you're grocery shopping with your significant other, right, you're both kind of relying on each other. Somebody is maybe leading, somebody is working on getting things. You're walking around together, you're observing the world together, right? You're pointing out like, "Oh, look at this silly thing that's over there," or "Can you believe this terrible movie they're trying to sell to people for $30," or whatever the thing
Yeah, I
is.
mean they're doing something together,
Yeah.
experiencing something in the physical world more than just, binging the latest Netflix show on your couch after the kids are asleep or whatever.
Yeah. So then the other thing that I would say is if we're taking that, because I think this is a question that would naturally stem out of that, is it's pretty clear how you foster that relationship, at least I think, on an individual level, right? Where there are two sides. One, we're sitting down and having a serious conversation about something, right? How to raise kids, finances, whatever. And then there's the general communication side of things with shared experiences. And that can be going out to dinner, going shopping together, whatever. Okay? I think it's pretty easy to expand that to a familial level because they're similar things. A community, I think, again, it's relatively easy, right? You're talking to people about some of the things going on in the community, whether that's construction or the school system or busing or whatever it is, and you're getting together to have a bonfire. I think some of the question around that, I think, comes in when you start looking at larger levels. And I think while we're missing the shared values on a larger scale as well, that's not the only thing that's missing. There are also missing shared experiences that are unrelated to the values. So in the past, we used to have movies and films that everyone and their grandma had seen and you could talk about.
Everyone needs to tune in on Tuesday nights for
Exactly.
Friends or whatever show that everyone
Yeah.
was watching.
Because there used to be like 3 or 4 channels on TV.
Or, I mean, war, right?
Yeah, war, tragedies
about-
like 9/11,
Yeah.
like Pearl Harbor, right? These are things that I'm not, obviously these are terrible, horrible, tragic events. They do serve to bring people together though. When you have things like Kennedy coming out and giving his speech where he lets the nation know we are going to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
This is a collective goal that we're setting, right? We're missing that. We're also missing that shared experience on like a fun level. Like I don't remember the last blockbuster movie that I could talk to like my grandma about, and I could go talk to work colleagues about, and I could talk to some kid about, and everyone's just so stoked about this. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe you've got Avengers, Endgame, or Infinity War. Those were pretty big.
Yeah. Or I was also thinking about this earlier, but more recently when we went to see the new SpiderMan movie, No Way
That was
Home.
pretty big.
That
Yeah.
was, I mean, that was huge when it came out. And like we went to see it on opening weekend and we were at some showing. It might even have been the day it came out, but that night.
Mm-hmm.
And, the theater was full. And
Yeah.
it wasn't full of like it was full of people who were Star Wars fans. Sorry, not Star Wars.
For Marvel fans,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man fans,
Specifically Spider-Man fans.
Yeah.
And it was tangible in the air, that connection that everyone had.
people were
And
psyched.
people were so excited,
Yeah.
and it was just a contagious energy to where I like Spider-Man, right? I don't get all worked up about superhero movies.
You're not cosplaying.
No, I'm not.
But they're fun.
But I was up there waving my fist in the air and like,
Yeah.
like because the whole theater was excited.
Yeah.
And everyone in the theater was like, it was a very dynamic type of watching experience.
Yeah.
Unlike I've ever had before. And it was a lot of fun. And I felt like there's two sides to this coin, because it was a lot of fun. And I felt like this urge rising up in me to like, shout along with when everyone else was so excited because, blank came onto the screen. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like this undeniable urge to just like join in and shout. But that's a little bit dangerous too. Right.
Yeah, but
this urge to just join the collective. Like, it also, in a kind of eerie way, made me think about 1984. Not that this was a bad experience watching Spider-Man, but
yeah, but I guess what I'm positing is that no matter what happens, there people need that level of connection, and I'd rather have it in the Spider-Man movie in the theater when there's a 5-year-old kid in front of me who's just stoked to be there, and there's a 70-year-old couple walking in the back and they're grinning ear to ear with popcorn in their hands. I'd rather have it that way than have it manifest in a really negative or potentially even violent way. And I'm saying, I think that too often we're lacking things like that. Even something like some of these Marvel movies, where I really think that it's a positive to bring people together like this. I think there are few rare instances where we actually have this, and even instances where there is something like that, I think that it doesn't quite stand up in terms of population percentage buy-in to what there was in the past.
do you think we're lacking it, or do you think it's just maybe shifted more negative, or maybe like cliquey almost?
So I think it has become fragmented.
Right. Like,
I think
you do get these small groups of people that almost like, this was going to be another one of my questions of how do you differentiate between that in a positive way and just putting yourself in a place where you're just in an echo chamber, right? You're in some community, some small, like maybe fringe group of people that believe a certain thing, and there can be a sense of community and connection around that. But isn't that also like what cults do? Like, cults capitalize on this sense of feeling like you're a part of an exclusive community and exploiting that in people. Or if you think about mob rule, mob mentality, like people, these can be harnessed in very negative ways, like you said. Do you think we are just lacking that ability to connect over communal experiences? Or do you think maybe we just see it in more, I think you said fragmented or more negative ways manifesting?
So what I'm positing is that as we take positive experiences and we fragment them, the need for communities to come together will be served one way or another, whether positive or negative.
So what do you mean when you say when we take positive experiences and fragment them?
Sure. So let's examine the advent of online streaming services. Okay. If we go back in time 30, 40 years, we're looking at basically, maybe you have to go 40 or 50 years. I don't know. You're looking at in the not too distant past, okay? Whether it's on television or in newspapers, the number of options that people have to buy into a collective narrative is very small. As a result, you have everyone, at least to some degree, on the same page. There's some level of shared experience. Even if that's not on the value and fundamental level, at least we're all sitting down and everyone's watching The Tonight Show because that's the coolest thing on television, and there are 3 channels, and that's clearly multiple steps above the other 2 at this time slot, right? Or there's some huge show like Seinfeld, let's say. There aren't that many channels, there aren't that many options, and that's clearly better than the other option, so everyone's watching it. Mm-hmm. Okay? What happens then is 2 things. One, it fills the need that I think people have to congregate and share a narrative. And because we have a shared narrative and to a degree experience watching that show, and everyone is in on it. Everyone, right? It's not like, oh, Stranger Things. Okay, yeah. To watch Stranger Things, you need to have Netflix.
There's a smaller niche group of people who are into it.
Yeah, and I want to stress, maybe there are more people who watched Stranger Things than people who would watch Seinfeld live. Maybe, but that's not what's relevant here. What's relevant is the proportion of the population that are doing both of these things. Okay, the portion of the population that was watching Seinfeld or a massive show like that was huge. Okay, and it has everyone to some degree on the same wavelength. So then what happens is when I start having a disagreement, I, as in somebody back in that time, start having a disagreement with somebody at work, I understand and I view that person in a light of more similarity because I understand that shared experience. The problem now is things have become so fragmented. Even to watch something like Stranger Things, let's say, which was a massive, big phenomena show, just like, or Game of Thrones, let's say, okay? To watch any of those, you have to have bought into a streaming service, which is a subsect of the population, and you need to be thoughtful and understanding enough to use technology and get access to that and watch it. And I'm sure plenty of our listeners will be like, yeah, well, that's not that difficult. You make an account, enter stuff. But like, we used to have people all watching the same thing.
Well, and part of that I think just comes with we have so many more options now, because how many streaming services are there? 20 years ago.
Yeah, I couldn't even name them all.
Not 20 years ago. I don't know when Netflix became a thing, but, back in the early days of Netflix, there were not 15 Netflixes like there are now. And nowadays it also seems like, the rare times that I'm actually watching something on cable television, and I'm seeing ads and stuff. Nowadays it seems like every month there's some new dumb NBC show that, looks like it was, the concept was scratched together on a piece of paper that someone thought of while they were eating lunch one day. And it's not like some fleshed out concept made into a show. It seems like just some dumb little thing someone had an idea about, and it's like, let's make a show out of this. And so they did. And things are getting so diluted. We're getting quantity of things over quality, and so people are just being split up across more things that there just aren't as many people following a certain thing. If we're following on the example of television shows or media consumption like that, I mean, even YouTube, you could throw YouTube. Some people don't really consume television, but they watch a lot of YouTube. There are just so many options.